Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Tonight we're going to look at a very cool method named or called the convert value on the object mapper in Spring Boot. It's actually a part of Jackson. So let us first create a problem that we can solve. So I'll go to my resources and then I'll create a JSON file, and we want to convert this JSON file into, first we want to convert it into a map, but then the part of the map we actually want to convert that into an object. How do we do that? Of course we could dig into the map structure, and then we could serialize objects when we come to them, and then we could deserialize it again into the object. But of course that is quite difficult. So why not use the cool convert value method? So let us just here I have some important data.json right here. So we have a JSON file, and it is organized like this. So we have some keys right here where someone has chosen the name as the key right here. Of course you would not do that. Of course, so you could also see that it's bad data. We have height maybe in centimeters. And then we have weight in kilograms right here. And then we have multiple people right here. So let us just say that we have multiple. We have a guy called Benjamin right here. Maybe he's just 41. He's a bit shorter, weighs a bit less. Then we have Susan right here. Susan, and she is 29, a bit higher, and weights a bit less. So let's say that we have a structure like this. So, and we want to convert the inner part right here as we want to convert it into an object that matches a class. We don't want to just take out the map values right here. And this is especially useful if you have a lot of properties and you don't want to use. You want to have a more fixed approach than just having a loose map, hash map where you can actually. Where anything is, where you don't know what's actually inside this hash map right here. You want to make it type safe. That's actually what we want to do right here. So first of all, we're going to load in this JSON file right here, and I am going to use commons.io from Apache. That is one of the easiest way to load a resource file right here. So I have a dependency, commons.io from Apache, and then we can go and create our own. We can go create our important data service right here. And this is a service. We have some SL4J. We have required Axe constructor if we need to inject something else. And we have an object mapper right here. So we could also, sometimes we want actually to create the object mapper as a bean. In this situation right here, I'm just going to create a new instance of it. So here we have the object mapper right here. And then we have then we want to return a list of what do we want to return? We want to return a list of people, a person, list of person right here. Then we create the new person as a type right here. So we have a person, and the person is of the data type. And then we will say private, string. We can have a name. That's okay. So here we have the name. Then we want the age, and we also want the height like this, and we also want the weight right here. And the age was an integer. So we want a structure like this, and actually we don't care about the age to begin with. We just want to access the properties, the property fields inside the inside the names. We want to access those as type safe as possible, and we want to map them into the person class, right? Class that we have right here. So that is the situation. So first of all, let us so first of all, let us read the file. So first of all, we can do that by saying important data service dot class dot get class loader, and then we can get the resource as a stream, and then we can say important data.json. So now we have the input stream, and then we can use IO utils like this, and then we can say read. There are probably easier ways than this, but let me just refresh my Maven structure, and then I can say IO utils. I want it from the Apache Commons. That was. We can say read, and look at all of these options right here, and then we can just read all of it as a list of strings. So then we get each line like this, and of course we can choose UTF-8. So here we have the strings, and instead of have a list of strings right here, then actually I will convert this into one string. So then we can say strings dot stream dot so then we can say collect joining. Collect joining right here, and we don't want to use any delimiter between each part right here, and then we should get a nice stream or JSON like this. So now we have so now we should get all of the content right there. And then we can use the object mapper from JSON. So we say object mapper, and then we can say read value, and then we can say all JSON. And actually, the object mapper, it can actually also read an input stream. I think it can read a lot of weird stuff. So yeah, here we have the input stream right here, and then we can convert it into a class. So actually, these steps right here, actually I did not need the IO utils right here, but now I imported it, so I'm just going to leave it for now. So here we are going to read the value, and then we say, please convert that into a class. Class like this. Add exception to method signature. Of course, we could also have done a try catch instead. So here we have the map right now, and right now this is a string object map right here. Object. So the situation is right now. So if I say map.get get Mike, for instance, then I want to convert this part here into a person. How do I do that? Of course, in the good old days, then you would have to write object mapper, and then you would have to write it as string, write value as string, and then after you write it back as a JSON string, then you would have to read it back as a string again, and then you could then convert it into the person type. But now they have this convert value method right here, and it's much easier to use. So if I say convert value, then we can say map get something. We can actually take a name, read load person, and here we have a string name. So here, this is the name of the person right here, and then we will return just one person right here. And we say get name, so we get it from the map, and then we convert that. Not to a list. We want to convert it to the person right here. So here now we are actually taking a part of the map, and then we say convert that into the person class, and then return that. So that is what we are doing right here. And now we want to test it if it works or not. So we are creating a test with JUnit 5 Jupiter. Jupiter is the 5th planet in the solar system from the sun. That's why they've used that in a package structure. So we will say something like, first of all, make it public so it can. Yeah, actually, I think it's only the method. It needs to be public, or else it will not run when you run the Maven test. Oh, So here we have the test, and we want to wire something in right here, auto-wired, and then we say, yeah, important data service. Then we buy that in. We say this is a Spring Boot test, and we do not need the web environment this time. So just set it to none. Then it's slightly faster to start up. It doesn't need to start the Tomcat. But it does not need to expose the port at least. But I don't know how much faster it is actually. So okay, here we have load person. So then we say ports and data service, and then we say load person. I'm going to load myself right here. Load mic, and yes, there is an exception, but we'll just add it to the method signature just because it's faster and it also makes nicer code when you're doing a demo. Yeah. So here we have the person, and then we say assertions and we use assert.j because it looks nicer. Assert that mic is not null. Assert that mic.getAge is equal to 47. Yes. Okay, so let us run this test right here and see what happens. Maybe I have some. Let us see if I have some old stuff in this project right here. There was some classes I would not pushed to my repository. Okay, so now we got an error right here. So let's see what happens. Null pointer exception, important data service right here. Read lines resource as string. So get class loader, get resource as stream. And important data. Yes, I renamed it. There's no file name that, so it needs to be important data like this. And then we rerun, then we press Shift F12. Oh, not Shift F12. We press Shift F10. Yeah, how could I forget that? So, Shift F10. Then you rerun whatever you just ran. So Shift F10. And now it's green. So we have a huge success here already. Let us try to take another person. Could have Susan right here. Susan. Right there. And I'm just going to leave the assertion right here, because then we get a failure. And then we can fix the test afterwards. Oh, I need to write Susan there, there. And then we check the age. So now we get a failure because Susan's age is 29 and not 49 or 47. So let us go take a field from Susan right here. We will take the height, which is 178. We go back. So first of all, let us change the age right here. Duplicate the line, Control D. Then we say get height, and then we say that it should be equal to 178. Shift F10, then it runs again. Shift F10, then it runs again. And what did it say right here? Okay. So actual is a string, so we'll convert it into a string. Yes. So now we have a green test. So that means that this cool little trick right here, it actually worked. And so now let us make it slightly more efficient right here. So we have the resources stream. That's important. We did not need the commons IO. I'm just used to sometimes, the power of habit, right? So I can actually delete all of this right here, because the object mapper, it can actually read a resource as an input stream directly. And again, we just get an IO exception that we have to deal with, and two related problems. Let us go to the test, and then we can go to a test, and we can say add exception. By the way, what is the best way to actually handle an exception in a real life scenario? That depends on the situation. That is a short answer, but a much better answer is that you would do something like, not like this. You would actually surround it to try catch, and then you will throw a new runtime exception. You might log something before that, because usually when you end up in a situation like this, then it's actually a critical situation. So you want your program to stop usually, and then you want to maybe. There are some developers, they don't like both to lock their exception and also to throw it, because when you're throwing the exception, then you are actually, usually it's also ending up in some log somewhere. There are sometimes it's actually nice to log it anyway, because convert it into a runtime exception, you can actually lose information if it's a very long exception. Yeah. So let us just press Shift F10 to see if our new optimized code is still running without the exception catching and all that. So yes, so that is quite cool. Now we have this convert value right here. That means you can take a part of your data structure, take a part of your map or your object. You actually take any object. It does not need to be. Yeah, you can take any object and then you can try to convert it to something else. And then in most situations it's actually good. Actually ends up very well. So we can, what would happen if you also want the name right here? Then you will say string name, and then you could add some JSON. What do we want here? Right here, we want the JSON. Ignore unknown equal to true. So that means that we will just ignore the properties that we don't see. Let's just run again. So our test is still green. That's good. Then we go back to our code, and then we would actually then we could return our person class, but now we want to add the name. So that means we can actually add something called chaining. So we could actually add a chain on the person. So that means that actually we will not use chain in this situation right here. We would actually do something like this. We would say this is a person, yes. And then we will say person.set name, and that is equal to the name, and then we will return person like this. So now we also have the name, and that means now we can also test, of course, whatever we have in the name field. So that means we can assert that Mike.getName is equal to ignore case Mike like this, and yeah, now we were still green. So that's just what I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you that even though that you start out with a map, you do not need to end up with a map, and you should try to make your programs as type safe as possible. And in this situation, it was a little bit difficult because we have the key is actually used as name, and of course the data structure right here is it should not be like that. Of course, if you want data some data like that, then you would actually have persons or people or something like that, and then you would have an array, and then you would have the name inside the object, and then you would have that would be the right way to do it. I did this with a bad structure on purpose because you will actually see this sometimes in real life scenarios. Of course, it could be one of your colleagues that created data like this, but it's what you would then do in that situation is that you would, of course, you would actually, of course, you would notice you would tell your colleague in a good faith that you think that the data should have been different. Then you will probably hear an answer that this data structure is actually used by 15 other applications, so it cannot be changed right now. So and then you will have to use this data structure anyway. And then of course you would just do that, or you would actually suggest that you could actually fix all of the 15 other applications that are also using that data structure. It depends on how tough a deadline with the stuff that you're having right now. It would probably be something that could, you would probably have to use this data structure that is already there, and then you would create a new. If you're running Scrum, then you would create a new ticket, a new Jira, and then you would prioritize that in to the next sprint if it is important enough to handle. Yes, that is actually it. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great evening. And I hope to see you again soon. And thank you very much for all of your comments. Bye-bye.